You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
In the future, when Jesse loses his mind and realizes that we are just voices in his head, he will make the best puppets ever made to house those wonderful voices.
This is Jesse. In the future, Doc Brown will go back in time to fix this horrible alternate timeline so that the Cubs can win the series. We can have hoverboards and flying cars.
In the future, I will invent time travel so I can go back in time and fix all of these awful future predictions. Welcome to the Grawlix Podcast. This is episode number 22, which means last month, Melanie, you missed episode number 21. I mean, you didn't miss it. You were here, but
I should have been drunk.
Ever since episode 18, you're like, you can almost drink if a podcast was a person.
Yeah. Well,
and a month was a
Which
year.
is not true because they're actually monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know.
But you missed, I didn't realize till I was editing last month's episode that you missed it. You didn't say anything when I was like,
darn it.
Episode 21.
Well, I have a bottle of rum over there. I can get started.
A Drunken Melanie Grawlix Podcast.
That's going to be a lot of editing.
That is going to be a lot of editing.
With pirate rum.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're just going to mash up all the holidays we missed, like Talk Like a Pirate Day and
That's a day?
21.
That's awesome.
That's a day.
Uh-huh.
I like that.
Yeah. America needs more holidays like this.
That's what the internet is for.
Like take your action figure to work day,
Yeah.
which is also a real day.
This is the November episode. Happy November. What happens in November?
You don't shave.
Gravy!
Gravy and mustaches, which is not a good combination.
Gravy, beards. Nobody shaves ever again.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
Charities.
You know, charities.
Charities have things that do words.
We're recording this, not to pull back the curtain too much. We're recording this. It's still not Halloween when we're recording this. This is about a week before the episode actually goes up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very Halloween-y looking here, and we have lots of horror movies to watch still.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. When we went to a Halloween party last night, I tweeted out our costumes.
Yeah, I saw that. Some Jay and Silent Bob action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Holly carries that one. Because I just kind of look like Silent Bob anyways, so
yeah.
if I had the dark hair, it wouldn't even be a costume.
No, it was pretty good. Was it a fun party?
Yeah, it was Steve Weimer, which is a
seriously
mutual friend. So yeah.
I haven't talked to Steve for a long time.
It was like a housewarming party type thing. So it was a good time.
He's local.
He's local now. Oh, that's right. He was out of town for a number of years, and now he's back in town.
I did not know that. I'll have to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
This is probably not exciting for people listening, but
it's why I was dressed up. We're just giving them backstory.
Yeah.
We had a Halloween party.
Yeah, we did have a Halloween party.
With children.
Is that why we're all tired? Halloween parties.
Maybe, yeah. Still.
Children, that's even wilder than an adult party because you need more sleep after that.
Yeah. And cleaning and all this craft supplies everywhere. Oh, God.
I missed the majority of it, thank God.
Yeah, you did.
This one time I was glad I was at work.
You didn't want to make a witch's broom with us?
The little witch's brooms were cool.
Yeah, they were.
I will say you guys made these little witch's brooms with like small sticks and hay-looking grass.
Mm-hmm.
Those were cool.
Yeah, that's because I'm awesome.
Melanie was getting all crafty.
More than usual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Tombstones were cool too.
Rest in peace, butt.
Yeah, that's what kids do.
Yeah, that's true. Or rest in peace, fart.
Yeah.
That was all last month, though. We're looking to the future now, as we always are.
Should we talk about Scream in the Dark, though?
Oh, man. Back to the past.
back to the past. We've got to go back.
No, you're right.
Something's got to be done about your reviews.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Scream in the Dark Festival.
We all went to the Friday night showing, which was like the Hall of Fame Q&A for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was on your list last month.
Yes. Yeah, I don't remember what it was at, but it's pretty high on my list of favorite horror movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And we went and saw the movie in a theater. That theater is fantastic, by the way.
Was it over 100 years old or something?
Oh, it's
Had to be.
It's beautiful. And a Q&A. Oh, their names escape me at this exact moment.
Pam and Grandpa.
Pam and Grandpa, yeah.
They have real names.
With the actors that played Pam and Grandpa.
Whatever that is.
And then also some short films.
Yep.
Preceded all that. And
What do you think of those? You guys saw most of them.
Yeah, we missed the first one. I misunderstood what exactly was happening. I didn't realize it was like a film festival with all little films and stuff going on. I thought it was just the one movie and the Q&A stuff. So I wasn't as pressed to get there as Randy seemed to be, and I'm like, why are you freaking out? We don't have to be there till like 9. And then I realized he's like, well, it's this whole, and I'm like, well, if it was the whole thing, I would have rushed. But I enjoyed the films we did see. They were pretty good.
Yeah, you guys saw most of them. Like I said, the only one you guys missed was called like Hunger, and it was about like this guy who goes in to shop right before Christmas because that's when all the good deals are. Mm-hmm. And so he's just like this stingy guy. And apparently there's like this leather jacket where there's like a monster in the pocket and the monster eats him.
Okay.
So don't be a greedy. I use that word that I don't know if we're supposed to use. I might get a Grawlix on this episode.
I was about to say that might be Jesse's first official Grawlix.
Oh, my Mr. Clean status is revoked.
You've been so good about it. Yeah. That's funny. I can't. I'm terrible with the names of these shorts, but yeah, we come in on the second one, which was pretty interesting stylistically. I liked it. It was like a 50s, kind of like a 50s black and white.
Yeah, it was like it was kind of like the Christopher R. Mim movies, only I think this one was trying to be a lot more serious.
Yeah.
Maybe not a lot more serious, but more serious.
More serious up until like the last 5 seconds of it or so.
Yeah.
It was humorous to me. I don't know if it was supposed to, but it kind of was.
Yeah, but there were a few times where I'm like, it was kind of funny.
And that one was cool because it kind of played into, is it the Robert Johnson? Was that his name? The guitarist?
Oh, I don't remember his name, but I know what you're talking about.
Met the devil at the crossroads and all that.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed to play into that mythology with this guy who was after this guitar. Mm-hmm. Or at least I don't remember if they showed the guitar, but it was a guitar case and whatever was in it.
It is an empty case.
Yeah. Full of light. But that was kind of a cool concept. Mm-hmm. And fairly well executed. There was some over-the-topness, though, for sure. But I thought it looked good, and the music was spot on for a 1950s. And actually, that story set in a 1950s black and white style was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. It'd be more helpful if I could think of the names of all these, but
that one was something about the case or something about something. Case.
Yeah, Case of Evil or something like that.
The next one I think was Flicker.
Yeah.
Was that
that was one of them anyways, yeah.
That's
the one with the guy that was like swearing the whole time and then an alien.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I have to go to work. Grawlix.
And he's hitting his flask while he's trying to like mess with this electrical box and it's like, this guy's what's this guy's deal?
Why does he hate his job so much? Just stop going to work.
It seemed like a pretty cool job, actually, too.
Yeah.
Go fix
awesome aliens and
stylish. I mean, that one looked okay, but the alien costume
was amazing.
Looked great, and the sequences where you saw the alien, other than the fact that the audio was unbelievably loud, which is not the shorts doing. They had the volume cranked in that theater. Right. But the sequences where you saw the alien, I thought were awesome and painful to my ears. It was so loud.
When the next one was Sacrifice, and it was still loud, and that one wasn't even like a loud flick.
Yeah,
like that was the one with the. I'm assuming that's the one with the family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that one had it had some weird. I think it had some intentionally unusual audio stuff going on, and then also some just kind of unusual audio mixing going on that may not have been intentional. Plus, it was cranked up super loud. But that one was very cool. Like, it had a concept that it didn't really explain. It was one of those concepts where you're like, I want to know more about what's going on here.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of like maybe a possession, infection type thing. But that one was really interesting.
And when we talked about it later, I was like, well, obviously, I mean, we know what was going on in their house, but it seemed like there was more going on in the world in general because of context clues that I thought I saw.
Outside of the house, yeah.
So I want to know more, and that's one of the things that makes me like things the most.
Well, and it's kind of misleading where there's some kind of weird flashback type stuff going on. And I think it does pretty well at making you assume what the typical scenario might be. Like, you're like, oh, well, maybe this woman maybe she was, like, I was thinking she was abused and murdered her husband or something like that.
Yeah.
And because that's kind of the way, without knowing exactly what the deal is, it seemed, and it turns out to be something not that at all.
Yeah.
I'm intentionally being vague. I don't know where people can find these. I'll try to look information up and include them in the show notes, but that one was very cool.
And then the last one was Delirium, and it was kind of like, it's kind of a bizarre one anyways, so I'm kind of drawing a blank on it.
You follow this detective who seems to be investigating this strange death, which in concept I liked the death. In execution, it didn't look very good. Just an execution. And then it just really goes bizarre, and I was not on board until the very end. Then I was like, oh, because it's one of those things where you don't know how much of what you're watching actually happened versus what's going on in this guy's head, or
because
okay, now I'm remembering it. Yeah, okay.
He's listening to, he finds it like a cassette tape or something that the victim, I guess you would call it, was sitting in front of the victim, and he's listening to it, and then there's some weird stuff happening, and then it kind of doubles back on itself.
And then it goes back and it starts playing the things he's hearing in the cassette, and then what happened to the people that were in the cassette, and other weird things that happened to them. It's like a little back jump loop to this happened to them, then this happened to them, and then this happened to them, until you don't know what's going on.
Some of the visuals, this one looked like a much lower budget one, but then again, they had a cool location, and they shot there. And when it comes down to it, the location looked great, so that's all you need.
Yeah.
Some of the visuals, like I said, were a little cheesy. They did this thing where it's like if you take Photoshop and black out the eyes and mouth of a picture. It was that kind of effect, but it looked like they took Photoshop and blacked out the eyes.
Yeah.
That I was not fond of. Like I said, the execution was not great, but the concept's good. But at one point, there's some person wrapped up in plastic or something, and I don't even know what was going on. And then the end, and I don't know. But at the end, I enjoyed it quite a bit because it just kind of made everything a little more weird.
Yeah,
and it didn't explain much of anything.
No.
And
like, was this all a dream, or did this happen and they just put him back in the chair, or what?
Yeah. The last two shorts I appreciated because they both worked on that level of a short film where they're just going to give you a snippet of a bigger concept. They're not going to spell that concept out to you, but they're going to make you wonder, like, they're going to make you want to know more about it. Yeah. And then the first two were a bit more linear. The second one used narration at the end to, like, fill in a lot of extra detail.
Yeah, it actually added a whole nother bit that, in my opinion, hadn't even been...
was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the alien one, but...
Yeah. But I mean, no, it added something besides just the alien...
Yeah, there's like a conspiracy and stuff going on.
I don't know.
Which was odd. But I mean, even that works in... It's hinting at a larger world beyond just this little short film you're watching. So, I mean, that's effective.
So, yeah, that was just the opening night of Scream in the Dark. And so it wasn't even like the full vendor room or anything like that. But it's a good time. Obviously, we liked Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I didn't really expect to get into, like, reviewing each of the shorts.
Well,
sorry.
Why are you sorry? I did most of the talking. The Texas Chainsaw, of course, was great, as always.
Mm-hmm.
I forget, and again, the volume was not quite as loud as during the shorts, but it was still very loud.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of added to it. But I forget how, like, relentless that movie is after a certain point.
Oh, yeah.
Once you're pretty much down to the final girl, it's just like nonstop maddening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just maddening. The family and the setting and the camera is like all over and up in her eyeball, and it's pretty insane.
Yeah.
It sounded like shooting that movie was kind of insane based on what we heard in the Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a very interesting experience. It felt a little awkward at times.
Sure.
But
when John Dugan, he has like no speaking role in that movie, but he had plenty to say.
And he seems like the kind of guy that doesn't filter himself. He says whatever he thinks. And he just seems so laid back up there. He's just going to talk, and he doesn't care who's there, who's listening, or what they think of it.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. They even got on a pretty bizarre little side tangent that we don't have to get into, but there was some humorous stuff, and I was like, wow, really? Like, you guys are just going to get into this this discussion of 70s style activities?
Oh yeah. They really pulled back the curtain. And Terry McMinn, she didn't have any problem just going on and on and on too. So I mean, so on one hand, at least it wasn't like an awkward because there was too much silence kind of Q&A. There really was no shortage of things to talk about.
Yeah, I think on my end it felt strange because it felt to me like the awkwardness more felt like it was coming from the audience.
It was, I thought.
It seemed like people weren't sure what to ask, and then there were a couple questions where I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Yeah,
you would. That would have been filtered.
And
would have been like, "No, we're not going to ask that one."
And I think that some of the responses threw off the people who asked the questions. Also, if you were looking at them at all, I felt bad for them because I'm one of those people that feels too much about other people, and I got embarrassed for them, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool. There were some interesting stories. I liked you almost got we almost got a little like dirt. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
behind the scenes dirt.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling it could have gone they could have gone into it more, but they're probably used to some restraint still.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was really cool.
You know what? One of the things that it made me think about was what the things they were talking about filming and stuff. When I think about making a movie, I always think of they have these long hours and doing these takes over and over and over, which I'm sure they did a lot of that too, from what they were saying. But she had mentioned like days and days where they would just like spend so long waiting for the lighting to be right so that they could go and shoot really fast before it was not right again. And I'm like, God, that would be like the worst part for me. I mean, the working over and over for long hours would sometimes be rough, but I could handle that. But just sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting,
in the heat.
Yeah.
In the heat, yeah.
I don't know. That would drive me insane.
In Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she mentioned like they'd have to, because a large portion of that movie is outside, they'd have to wait for clouds to clear the sky. So they're literally just waiting for clouds to travel across the sky. And then juxtapose that with the story. Well, she had a couple stories, but where she's got to do the same take of, like where Leatherface comes out and grabs her and pulls her down the hallway. She said she had to do that take like 70 times or something.
Whoa!
For just hours. Which I mean, the final take is whatever they ended up using is great, but I can't imagine like why would you spend 9 hours doing that over and over?
Yeah.
But yeah, she had a couple stories like that, so it does seem brutal. There's some really, I can't remember the name of it, but there is an excellent documentary, like behind the scenes documentary. It was released on one of the DVD releases at one point, one of the like anniversary releases, that really gets into just some of the insanely long shoots they had. But I recommend checking that out.
Sounds like the stuff that they shot inside the van was awful and really long too,
and hot. Yeah, she said they couldn't roll down the windows. So how was the rest of your weekend? Because Melanie and I only made it up that Friday, but you were there doing your table deal.
It was good, but you know, like being behind the table, you know, I don't know. I'm sure that the movies were awesome, and I didn't see any of them. Other than, you know, like they do movies in the dealer's room, but it's like the public domain movies, you know, like the 50 classic horror movie.
Oh yeah, sure.
It was like, yeah, they popped in the disc and they showed that one logo of like it's like a water wheel, and I'm like, oh boy, I've got one of those at home.
Yep.
I've got the sci-fi classics. This is the horror classics. So there was a lot of those, and they were all right. I mean, you know what you're going to get with those. Last year it was the Christopher Armin movies, so those have that extra level of kind of just entertaining because they're kind of tongue in cheek. This year, like my favorite day was Sunday, where they popped in some of the creature feature, Dr. Sanguinary stuff, and it was like Vincent Price's Last Man on Earth, and then like a Paul Naschy werewolf movie. It was like The Fury of the Wolf Man or something like that. So that was pretty fun. And the vendor room was a little bit bigger. Not much bigger because I mean, like you can only fit so many people in that room. It's kind of the ballroom area, and so we were located next to Sneaky Ninja Customs, which is like a custom leather company, and he does like dog collar, like studded dog collar kind of things, and then like money clips and card holders and keychains and stuff, and I actually knew him. I actually knew Barry Dunn, who kind of mans the table for Sneaky Ninja Customs, and spent a good portion of the weekend like making puns and just having a good time. You know, it's a little bit slower foot traffic than like your typical con, but that's okay too.
Yeah.
It's a different crowd. You know, you have some kids, but by and large, you don't. Just not like kids.
There aren't enough horror comics to draw people to.
Oh yeah. What did I sell? I sold mostly like I did the the General Mills monsters like Count Chocula as a barista. And so off-season jobs for those 3, and those sold. I actually created those for that event, and they sold at that event, which almost never happens. Which was, that's nice. Not like a huge money deal, but one of our favorites to table at.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's a different vibe, like it's all adults, and we can all like talk about horror movies and stuff, and yeah, it was a good weekend.
I guess we could get to our comic talk.
Oh my!
One thing I think about sometimes is the Grawlix website. We've been posting a lot of reviews of audio plays and horror movies.
Yeah,
and we haven't done a comic book review on there for a long time.
Oh yeah, we should probably put that on the rotation.
But that's all right.
You know what I can do when I get it finished? Maybe
what?
If you might have to hound me because you know how I am.
I will have to hound you.
I don't.
What are we talking about?
I should do a review on Hunter x Hunter because it's my first manga.
Yeah,
or manga, or however you pronounce it.
Manga.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
That'd be awesome
For sure.
Yep.
That's definitely. I mean, yeah. So I kind of joke that we don't post a lot of comic book reviews, but obviously we talk about a lot of comic books, and on the social medias we try to retweet comic book stuff and all that.
When you can see our Goodreads, because our Goodread reviews go out through all sorts of different channels.
Mm-hmm. But manga is definitely, I don't know how people prefer to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, it's always been manga, I guess. But manga is definitely one thing we don't touch on very often.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is the first one I've ever read.
Yeah, but you watch so much anime. You've watched the anime series of like a lot of the popular manga series.
Yeah.
So,
I watched that one.
So it makes sense. But yeah, Hunter x Hunter.
Uh-huh.
That'd be great.
I guess kind of like recent reads talk. I just recently finished up Alias, which I suppose I could have probably wrote a review on.
Nah, you're busy.
Since Jessica Jones is coming out and stuff. And I gotta say, I am more excited about Jessica Jones after reading that first chapter.
Yeah,
Kind of story. It's dark. It's not for the faint of heart. It's looking like that series will follow suit. So I'm pretty excited. And Kilgrave is a creepy character. I mean, like I always knew he was creepy, but like they kind of get into it a little bit more in this.
He's got to be with a name like that.
Yeah, the Purple Man. Basically, he can control your mind. Basically, makes you think what he wants you to think. It's like if the Jedi mind power were like complete, not just a suggestion, like you actually want these things, like you want to, go fight the Avengers for me. Oh yeah, I actually want to do that.
Yeah, I want to check it out. And there's been, since there's internet hype is kind of ramping up towards that series, there's been a lot of articles and stuff that I've been reading that have actually gotten me very curious to read some of the Alias stuff.
But I'm curious how they'll tie it in because, like in the original books, she's an Avenger, and obviously in this series, I don't think that. I mean, like the Avengers didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have this, like, decades long run that they can pull from. And obviously she wasn't in the Avengers because we've seen those movies.
Yeah. I'm becoming increasingly concerned about the quality of the future Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Based mainly on the Avengers 2 or on Age of Ultron.
Yeah. Because of the Thor stuff?
Well, the Thor stuff, it just seemed it was much more messy because they really did try to cram a lot more in. I don't remember what we were watching the other day, but it made a good point of like the standalone movies were kind of setups to the big Avenger movie. Mm-hmm. And then Avenger 2, though, is like they use that to set up a bunch of the standalones.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, like it just kind of becomes a mess.
Yeah.
And I could kind of start to feel that in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know we're kind of jumping around subjects here, but
well, but even Ant-Man was like a prelude to the next Captain America movie. It's like it's its own movie, but it's also really setting something else up.
Like, that's a really tricky balance, and I understand, like, it's not an easy balance to maintain, but I think part of what's made a lot of the Marvel movies work up to, whatever this was, phase 3 already, maybe, is that a lot of them did stand on their own. I mean, some of the earlier ones totally stood on their own, and then they'd have the post-credit scene was the setup for...
I was going to say, that's what they did with it.
Yeah.
That was where you saw it. They saved it for there, and it was brilliant.
And
Iron Man's over, and now we get Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But Avengers 2, Age of Ultron was problematic because they there's obviously shoehorned in stuff that Thor stuff doesn't make any sense. It 100% comes out of nowhere, makes no sense, and only serves to set up future movies.
Ragnarok, yeah.
It's problematic. And the Thor, I can't think of what else, but the Thor stuff's not the only stuff.
The love story between
that seemed like really out of nowhere too.
Yeah, it was.
I don't even know if that's setting anything up. That was just out of nowhere. It might be, but
then I don't know why they put it in there if it's not.
Well, I don't know why they put it in there either. How did we get on this?
I don't know.
Oh, Daredevil. The first season of Daredevil was awesome. So, I mean, Netflix is still doing it right. So I'm hoping
when the TV stuff is different a little bit, movie stuff, especially now that they're all kind of like separate. Like Marvel Films is separate from the rest of Marvel or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, The Flash is great.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
That show is a winner.
Now this is obviously going to be a little bit behind. There will probably be 2 more episodes of The Flash aired since we record this. But the last one we watched had a lot of Captain Cold and the Golden Glider and their father was the episode we watched.
I was kind of surprised to see him back so soon.
Yeah, I was not thrilled with that episode. I still enjoyed it because I like The Flash. But I find I don't care about those characters. It was the same with the first season. If there's a couple episodes that are real heavy, they brought his sister in, the Golden Glider, and I just don't like how they handle those characters. But it's still a fun show.
Yeah,
I want to know what's happening with Cisco, the vibe. I can't talk about this though. Barry Allen's father.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was kind of strange.
Yeah, it was.
It bummed me out. Obviously, they needed to write him out of the show somehow, but they wanted to resolve the issue. How are you gonna a big driving force of the main character of the show is he needs to get his dad out of prison. His dad was wrongfully accused. He gets him out of prison. Literally, 4 minutes after he's released from prison in the show, he's like, I have to leave. They write him out of the show. So disappointing.
Yeah. And the whole episode is like we've been trying to get a hold of you to let you know that there's this thing you need to do, and he's like, I'm not going to do it.
Oh yeah.
And of course, it's something incredible, like evidence that would free your father.
Barry Allen's been stubborn. He's been a stubborn jerk this season so far, but that's kind of the character arc they're rolling with.
Yeah.
After last season. So okay. How did you feel about the resolve of the season 1 finale? We can talk about that for a brief moment, I guess, because that was a big thing. Because season 1 left on this big cliffhanger. It looked like he was going to launch himself into this black hole. What was going to happen?
Right.
And Melanie kind of called it. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but she mentioned this. Season 2 starts, and it's like 6 months later or something, and everything's fine.
Yep.
She totally called it. But how did you feel, Jesse, about how they resolved that?
How he did it,
kind
of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I wish I could say I was surprised. The show is great, but when your power is to run, then you know that it's going to involve him running.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's a great character, but gee, I wonder how he's going to fix this big hole in the sky. I bet he'll run counterclockwise or something. And then somebody else with some powers will do another thing, which will set up an arc
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I feel like, I don't know, it's not, sometimes it's not high art, but am I entertained? You better believe I am entertained.
Yeah, and they can do whatever they want with their arc. I'm just glad that ridiculous man is gone.
The one half of what is it, Firestorm? The one half of Firestorm. Yeah, I wasn't too keen on that actor. And
we were talking about he stole his wig. You don't remember that?
I just know. Well, I remember talking about his wig because it was terrible.
I know.
It was the Arrow's wig, wasn't it? It's like, oh, he's got all these wigs. They just dyed it. It's Robbie Amell or something.
Yeah.
Like his name is like Robbie, actually, or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No. That's...
So he's the Arrow's brother, but I'm glad he's gone because he was not good.
I think Steven's a better actor.
Yeah, and he's fun. I like him.
Yeah. That wig was awful. And I think that he did just share the wig that they threw on his brother at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So are you guys caught up with Arrow then? Speaking of the bad wig?
No. We're still on the last season somewhere. I know there's like big things that happen. I'm kind of keen on some of them. But no, we're still behind.
Well, of course we're going to be behind because other greater things.
All the good shows started again. The Flash is back. We're behind on Arrow, so we haven't been watching that. Doctor Who, of course, is back.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Walking Dead is back.
Walking Dead is back. We did watch Fear of the Walking Dead. I'm glad the regular Walking Dead is back.
Yeah.
What else? American Horror Story, the new season of that is back, and that's kind of interesting so far.
Yeah, and we had to finish up the season before because
we were behind on the last season of American Horror Story.
So we've been busy.
I managed to catch up on. Well, I'm not caught up now, but I managed to finish season 1 of Gotham eventually.
Oh yeah,
during your sickness.
Yeah, I was sick for like a week. I missed like 2 days of work, and one of those days was I'm gonna throw Gotham on and sleep occasionally and watch it the rest of the time. And
yeah, you tweeted out something to the effect of, "I got all caught up," and I don't know,
and it's okay. I still feel the same way. I mean, it was serviceable when you're sick and you don't really. Your
expectations are low because you just want to survive.
Yeah, exactly. You're not really feeling good about no matter what you're watching, so you might as well not waste that time on something really good. If you fall asleep for half an episode, no, it was okay. Actually, I feel, of course, season 2 is going, and so this is old news I'm talking about, but I feel the show did kind of pick up at points in time. It just gets repetitive. The writing is still pretty bad at times, but they laid off of trying to introduce some known villain every week, and they kind of like fell back on what Gotham should have been, is like the mob story, the crime drama. Right. Season 1 seems after a while kind of falls a little heavier onto that stuff, and I think that stuff works. It's still a little cheesy the way they handle it, but I think that's the more interesting aspect of Gotham. But they also can't help themselves from doing ridiculous things.
Yeah, but it's not like the super mess or super villain of the week with the costume and stuff.
Yeah.
Which
they were kind of doing at first, I thought, and I don't think it was working.
Right.
I mean, the monster of the week kind of works. Like Flash kind of makes it work. It's not always a new villain every time, but Flash makes it work. Arrow can do it, but I think Arrow is so soap opera-y anyway that it works better as a serial type ongoing story.
Mm-hmm. But the point of Gotham, I thought, was to focus on the GCPD and not all of the other craziness.
Originally, that was the point.
Doesn't start up until later around Batman time, I thought.
I mean, I don't know how it was pitched to the network, but that was what was initially filtered out to the internet.
Yeah,
this is what we're going to get. But then by the time the network picked it up, of course, no, there is going to be Bruce Wayne. There's going to be that because the network's like, well, we need people that we need character. If we're using this property, we need characters that people are going to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like Doctor Who, when it first came, when it first came out, it was supposed to be pseudo scientific and pseudo historical, and was supposed to be almost like a way to introduce kids to history, and that was the original premise. And then the Daleks happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, now we definitely need more aliens, kind of thing. You know, like the original idea was not to be super alien-y or anything.
No, yeah, it was supposed to be more historicals. It was it's supposed to be a children's show with like a educational slant.
Yeah, and I love Doctor Who. I love it how it is, but they certainly could do the things they do and still use actual like science and history if they wanted to, but instead everything's reversing the polarity, and I took this person from this time to this time and they did this. Ha ha ha.
Well, yeah, but the Daleks came out in their second like story arc.
I know.
So they threw that stuff out the window like 50 years ago now.
So my tie-in there was that I wonder, like the Penguin was hailed as soon as he came out on Gotham. I think he was at one point the best thing about that show, and maybe still is. And I feel like, okay, so the Penguin worked. So what else can we do?
And maybe it was also kind of a case of, we don't know how long this show's going to last, so let's throw everything we can at the audience and hope it hooks them.
Right.
Until we can feel more secure in doing a longer, more involved storyline that's less sensational, poppy.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Smallville's first couple seasons were, happened. And actually, I think the first 3 seasons of that show were the only 3 seasons worth watching. Because at that point they were still trying to prove themselves. And then after a point, it was just like, let's just get episodic and ditch main characters and totally get away from the original premise. And yeah,
I only ever caught a bit of that show here and there.
I didn't even.
But
no.
I mean, I gave it a try, but it wasn't what I was looking for at that point in time. Plus, I have a much more favorable opinion towards Superman now than I did when I was younger, I think. Just wasn't super keen on him.
Yeah.
What?
Agreed. I kind of liked Rosenbaum as a teenage Lex Luthor. Somehow it worked. Like he could pull in the super funny stuff, but then he could hit dark. And so I think he was maybe cooler to me than even the Superman angle. And then he disappeared, and at that point the show was over. It's like the original premise was, how do you have Lex and Clark in the same town, like basically becoming adults at the same time, and even being friends, almost that Unbreakable kind of concept, that movie with Bruce Willis, where it's like, okay, the villains might even be really good friends kind of thing. And so like that initial idea or premise was kind of a good idea. And then at a certain point, they couldn't keep those actors around. And now the show just falls apart because you've lost your entire premise.
That show went for a long time too.
It did. It was 9 seasons. But it's like after season 4 or 5, I think Michael Rosenbaum left, and it was like, okay, what's the point at this point?
Yeah.
Just fly, Clark. For the love of God, fly.
All right. Let's get on task.
Sorry.
I'm still...
What's that?
You say sorry. It's not your fault. Yeah, Melanie's the one driving us off the rail the whole time.
Yeah, because rails are boring. Go out in the wild yonder.
They're really boring.
Oh.
That was a bad one.
I'm just worried we're going to lose out. I'm just worried we're going to run out of steam. Hey, we should be applauded. We mentioned Doctor Who like 5 times and didn't go that way.
I know.
Yeah. We totally could have, because
arguably arguably the turn we probably should have took.
I did talk about it for a second, but I was reminded of it like 3 times and I didn't say anything.
Oh, Doctor Who.
Yes, but
It's a good thing.
It is.
yes, but that's not.
All rails go back to it. It's really good.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about then? Which comics are we discussing?
Comics?
Oh,
What do you think this is?
we don't have comics on our website.
This is the Doctor Who and horror movie fan cast and superhero TV.
Yeah.
We do have comics to talk about, and specifically, first we're going to do our poll list pick,
All right.
because that seems to be the format.
Yes, it is.
I don't know what the current winner of the poll list is.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Pulling
it up. Oh, we still are at a dead tie.
Okay. Well, I guess we have a decision to make.
Okay.
One of them was Why the Last Man.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the other one?
Daredevil Yellow.
Daredevil Yellow.
I feel like we should, in honor of Two-Face, we should flip a two-headed coin.
Okay.
A two-headed coin?
A two-headed coin.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a two-headed. I have a regular.
You have a regular coin? A two-sided coin, maybe?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that a tails?
It's got a heads and a tails.
That's got a ram on the back.
What?
What is this?
Let me see.
It's a quarter, but it says Denali. Oh, Alaska. Ooh, that's
Ooh.
fancy. So, which
What
one?
is it?
Which
Heads for The Last Man and tails for Daredevil.
one? Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna flip it.
All right.
Tails.
Daredevil it is.
All right.
So Daredevil Yellow.
You guys just don't want me to take a break, do you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because you've already read Why the Last Man. You
Yeah.
wouldn't have to read it again if you didn't want.
Yeah.
I haven't read either one of them, so I was in the same boat either way.
Me either.
And I've read Daredevil, but I just have never. And I know this is supposed to be a good one, so it'll be good. But I've never read it.
I don't know what Daredevil Yellow is.
Well, I know what it is. It's a Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. He did this whole. They did this whole series, and they're actually on a new one that's just coming out now called Captain America White, and it's this whole colors thing. Daredevil Yellow is supposed to be kind of the Stanley Kirby era, where he's wearing his yellow costume.
Okay.
Now I don't know why the next one that they put out was called Spider-Man Blue. He does have some blue in his costume, but I don't know what that's all about. So he came out with Spider-Man Blue, which is their second series, and then Hulk Gray, which I believe was about the Gray Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which Gray Hulk. It might have been the initial Gray Hulk, because Hulk was supposed to be gray in the early days, but printing turned him green.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the what do they call him? Fix It.
Yeah. Was it Joe Fixit?
Joe Fix It. Gray Hulk.
Yeah, that Hulk. So it could be either one of those. I don't know. So Daredevil Yellow. I don't know. I don't know much about it beyond that.
I'm a little surprised that that's the first Daredevil that's made it up the list to us.
Right? Yeah.
I would have suspected it'd be the Frank.
The Miller stuff is what I would have, and that stuff I have read. So
Well, they didn't want you to have a break either.
Well, our listeners like us to work. Weird. I don't like our listeners' attitude. But at least they give us good things to read so far.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's Marvel, so I've read very little of it.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of waiting for some type of Daredevil to come up through the pull list. So I'm glad. And
we got some really bizarre picks on here. Otherwise,
I know. I know.
Owl Girls, which I've never even heard of. Identity Crisis. Okay, that I can see. Pride of Baghdad is that one would be short. I mean, I think that's like. I don't think that has words.
I know. I know that
Milk and Cheese. That's Evan Dorkin. That's going to be bizarre. I just know. I mean, like super violent milk and cheese.
I'm
and
excited.
some other.
Yeah,
some other.
I haven't looked at the pull list in a long time, to be honest.
It's pretty much at this point, it's nothing that we added originally, I don't think.
Okay.
There might be one thing. I don't know. I think this Batman might be the last thing that we started the list off with, because we added a few when we first started the list.
Yeah. But
There's a couple that still don't have votes, like violent cases, cages, and incidents in the night.
Oh, okay. Those also. Okay, if it doesn't have a vote, those are ones we added to. Those actually sound pretty odd, though.
Mm. But we like looked up.
We went through a list of like ones that are supposed to be good that I was like, okay, these seem like ones we probably should have read and haven't, so that seems like a good contender.
That's what we started with. But the one that we did read, Arkham Asylum, I hadn't read.
Oh, you hadn't read this?
No,
I thought you did. Okay.
I didn't. So it was new to me too.
I'm not sure I have even now.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you want to get into your troubles, but Jesse
because
Jesse had some trouble.
My confusion will probably become apparent pretty quickly on. I had a digital copy, and I tend to read The Walking Dead because I bought Humble Bundle compendium, and I just go through it, and I use the digital and I read it on my iPad. Well, I was going to try to do the same thing with Arkham Asylum, and for whatever reason, it just jumbled it up big time once I tried to take it from my Dropbox into my app.
Oh.
It mixed the pages all up.
And this is like, is this how it ends? Because this is really bizarre. And Randy's like, no.
Yeah, that's
that's not how it ends.
That's rough, especially with that book, because it's kind of confusing anyway.
Yeah,
well,
it jumps back and forth anyways. So
yeah, he messaged me and he's like, "This seems really, really odd." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a weird story." And he's like, "Does it end like this?" I was like, "Oh no, that doesn't seem right at all."
Yeah. And then I would use like a different app on my actual PC, and it would put it in a different order. And I think that I finally got, the story in order, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Batman. The full title is Batman: Arkham Asylum: A Serious House on Serious Earth.
That's a title, man.
It is a title.
That's a serious title.
Yeah. This was written by Grant Morrison. This was his first Batman work. Art by Dave McKean. Lettering by Gasper Saladino. And it was originally published October 1989.
Ooh.
Can I make my first comment real quick? I have some issues then with Gasper Saladino.
Oh, the lettering?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll get right to it.
Yeah.
Oh, the Joker?
That's my biggest complaint about the book. I couldn't understand half of what the Joker was saying because of the lettering.
The Joker's was very problematic because it was a combination of the colors of the lettering, the style of the lettering, and his specifically were not put to balloons. Mm-hmm. So it blended into the background. Mm-hmm. It was difficult to read the Joker's dialogue.
Yeah. But that's my main complaint.
Interestingly, and I was a little surprised to see it, he did do the thing where almost all the characters have a different style of dialogue balloon, and colors of their dialogue balloons, which is something that typically wasn't done. And at this point, DC actually does that in a lot of the books. I was surprised because Batman's word balloons were the white letters on black.
Yeah, they were the negative, yeah.
Which is something they do a lot in modern Batman comics.
They do that for Batman, though?
Oh,
seems like they tend to do that with
maybe
really creepy bad guys.
Like the owls, the Court of Owls, they did it with them a lot. Yeah. So I guess maybe not Batman. But that wasn't something that was done that often for like character-specific styles of stuff, I guess.
It's helpful, though, because there was so much of the, just like kind of art clips or whatever, and then people talking or thinking or whatever. And so it's helpful to have that so you know who is talking because it switches a lot.
The art is very much it's a mixed media type. There's like painting and photos and just different types of mixed media going on. And it's it's not totally abstract, but it's a more symbolic, slightly abstract take on the art. So it's definitely not your standard straightforward panels of action.
Yeah.
It's very stylized.
A lot of like I don't know, like scrapbooky. I mean, like even from the covers, it looks like you've got pressed leaves and like a peacock feather, and you're like different textures and things overlaid. It reminded me a little bit of a Daredevil comic, but it also reminded me of Duncan the Wonder Dog, how they had those pages. So going way back.
It reminded me also of that Swamp Thing issue during the Alan Moore run with the where Swamp Thing gets kind of ravaged by this planet. This like the really strange art departure. There's obviously like some photographs and different textures, but overall it still has a more it's got a very painted thing going on. I don't think it was quite as heavily relied on some of the like photos as like that Swamp Thing book issue. But it's dark.
Oh, yeah.
It's all very dark.
I was gonna say it's like pretty art in the way that like the Ring movie, like the video VHS from the
short
movie
video, the creepy short,
in the way that would be pretty.
Yeah, a lot of backlighting.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of either full face lighting where like the Joker looks totally washed out, like I mean even more so than the grease paint would make him, or you'll see like just a silhouette and you won't even see their face.
I disliked it, but at the same time, I liked particularly how the Joker looked. He always, like, he would kind of paint the Joker's face in this, like, really distorted, kind of stretched out, weird way. The whole book has a nightmare feel.
Yeah.
And the art is dark, and the story is very dark. I was surprised at how dark and gruesome and adult some of this stuff in this was. I'm not even sure how to summarize what happens. Basically, Batman has to go into Arkham Asylum because the Joker's holding somebody hostage or something. Basically, kind of the Jokers and inmates have taken over type situation. Batman has to go in. He goes through a whole bunch of stuff. We get flashbacks to what's his name, the Arkham Asylum founder, Amadeus Arkham or something, or Abraham Arkham, something Arkham. We get
Mr. Arkham.
Mr. Arkham.
Yeah.
We get his very twisted backstory, and that's the story. I mean.
Some bugs in her mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's bugs in her mouth. She's eating. Oh, yeah, she's eating.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's the way I kind of viewed it as I was reading it was like, it's kind of like Batman's nightmare. It's just like a bad dream of a story.
Yeah, and I mean, after the little bit before he got in there wasn't a whole lot of. Once he got in there, I was surprised at how quick he seemed to kind of lose it a little bit, you know?
Batman loses it. I'm actually surprised that, because this is generally a well received book. I'm surprised that, because fans kind of seem to draw lines in the sand at weird places, and Batman does a lot of things in here that I think would really upset a lot of fans.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised it's as well received as it is. Batman loses it.
Yeah, he does.
Like from the beginning, before he's even in there, he's talking to Gordon about basically, I think he says something about being scared. Not Batman, but Bruce, but him. Not Batman's not scared. He's scared. Like he just seems like he's a wreck before he even gets in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he's in there, he's like,
goes all emo.
He goes emo. He's like
emo Batman. I was just gonna say that.
It's really bizarre. One thing that I thought while reading through this was,
life is pain.
Yeah. There's nothing but the darkness.
My soul is darkness. Life is darkness. Pain is the symphony of my soundtrack of life.
I mean, when I think about it, it's not too far off. The only thing this was missing was a little cat dancing from Batman. He's in a bad place. He's in a bad place. No, it made me appreciate Batman stories more in a way, because I was like, I mean, we get dark Batman stories, obviously. Those are my favorite ones. But I was like, if you can go from like, Batman Adventures style, kid-friendly Batman stories to self-cutting Batman,
self-cutting Batman,
where murderers talk about genital mutilation. Like, if you can like write Batman stories in that like spectrum,
like
you could do anything. Like, it's just, it blew my mind in a way, because I was like, you can write a Batman story at any audience, and it's just accepted. So it kind of made me appreciate like the scope at which like you can work within the genre and Batman stories.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No, it does. We'd be able to get away with that with Superman.
It just Superman can't change ever.
Yeah, I think it's super dark. I knew it was going to be dark. I was a little surprised. I mean, shocked, but not like in like a not like offended.
Yeah.
But I was a little surprised at how dark some of this stuff is. But the most surprising thing is the way that Batman's portrayed. Mm-hmm. He's a mess. Like, it's really weird.
Yeah. And the Arkham part of it, I think they were trying to go with this whole like, the house is cursed and blah blah blah, and it's a bad place. But I was like, no, to me it seems like it was a nut house before you made it a nut house, and that's the only problem.
Yeah, it was a nut house before. Yep. I liked the Arkham backstory. I thought that stuff was cool. Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard to say with the New 52 stuff, but that kind of became canon. It feels like Grant Morrison. Like, it's got that Grant Morrison like weirdness. Like, he likes to do weird things, and he'll do adult themed things, but it's usually not this like overbearingly dark.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe he was feeling a little emo when he wrote it.
Yeah. Well, 1989, maybe he just read The Crow and was like, this is where it's at.
Yeah.
Get this cat dancing in here, throw a cowl on the guy, and we're good.
We do a little cat dancing with Killer Croc.
Yeah. I was
a
little confused at parts. It seemed like he killed somebody, but I don't think he did.
It seemed like he killed Killer Croc.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. It really is the journey.
Yeah.
It's the journey. Like, the plot.
I don't know what part of the book that is, but I know it happens.
That's towards the end.
Okay.
I mean, if you're reading it in the correct order.
It was interesting to see Zeus in there.
Yeah.
He's all electrified and whatnot.
Is that how he was? Because that just seemed really weird.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I guess I don't know much about his actual comic history. When I think about Max Zeus, I think about the animated series, honestly. So
having him in there at all seems like a Grant Morrison thing to do, though.
Yeah, I was surprised that he was in there.
He likes to take these weird characters.
like Two-Face. Two-Face cannot catch a break if he's in Arkham. He cannot catch a break or get any respect. Like, I like the fact that they did something interesting with him, but of course he's the one that defecates himself. I'm like, seriously, it's Two-Face again. I get it. Okay, Two-Face.
Well, I was reading a little bit before we recorded today about it, and apparently Morrison had read The Dark Knight Returns, and was really into it. He liked the Frank Miller dark grizzled Batman, and that kind of was his inspiration a little bit in writing this. And if you think about that story, Two-Face is kind of a mess there too. Like, he's just broken.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I mean, I know you like Two-Face, but especially if he's in Arkham, I would think. But he's already broken. That's his character. He's got.
He's literally fractured. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
And so, and to have them, trying to mess with his mind even more, he's going to be even worse, obviously.
Well, and that's one thing. Like Batman doesn't seem to have it together most of the time. He's just kind of reacting and overreacting. But that was one thing I appreciated, was he was really upset with how they were dealing with Two-Face. Yeah, they were like. And I understand, like, that was an interesting concept, and I understand, like, where the psychologist or whoever would try to think that was a good idea to handle it. Mm-hmm. Basically, they were trying to make it so that Two-Face, like, wasn't bound to his just two decisions, and they eventually had him with, like, a deck of cards, so he could make, up to
72 or whatever it was, yeah.
So then he could make more decisions, and their idea was eventually work up to where, then he just realizes he has all these choices he can make. He just needs to pick one. But Batman's like, you guys are just fracturing him more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now he can't make any decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciated how Batman reacted to that. He was very upset about it.
Yeah. But he was friends with Harvey before, so that I would think he'd be most upset about something that happens to him or someone else in the same situation. He's probably been friends with other people. I would guess that went bad, but
Well, and I know Two-Face is a broken character. That's his character. That's him being a villain. But in this and that, he's not like crazy but strong. He comes across as like broken and broken down.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's under a table and quivering.
Yeah.
Death of the family. He's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, he just can't cut a break when he's in the padded room.
No. I don't know. So what did you guys think of the story itself?
It was okay. I enjoyed reading it, but it's not something that I'm gonna want to read often at all, because it's so dark that it is kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my favorite Batman story, but at the same time, I really do like some of the things they do. Like, I mean, it takes Batman in a different direction than we're used to seeing, and anytime you can do that, that's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're so used to, well, this is what I think, and like you said, this is different, and at least it is,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, kind of middling on it.
Yeah, I liked it. Outside of the backstory, the Arkham backstory, the plot, it seems really light on plot. Like, it's just, it's pretty much Batman goes in there, deals with these bad guys, and
sort of.
Well, yeah, he doesn't. Nothing really is resolved, and then he leaves.
Well, but part of the situation was that one of, like, the guy who was running it let them all go. It's not like they just all escaped. He let them out for some tough. I think he was trying to find.
Oh! I just remembered part of it. Yeah, I had read it. It's been a couple weeks since I read it now.
Yeah, me too.
He found the notes
of Arkham.
How much? Maybe we should have gave a spoiler warning at the beginning of this. We usually spoil these things, though, don't we?
Yeah, you all should know by now. We're spoilers.
So that guy was a mess already. He had kind of followed the original Arkham's descent.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that. Yeah, so that's a major plot point.
So I mean, what's he gonna do? I'll put all these people back in their cells so this guy can let them back out. They're gonna have to wait till they find a new, like, I don't know, nut house director. I keep calling it a nut house. It's not polite. And a new asylum director.
I mean, in real life, yeah, that's not polite, but I mean, Arkham Asylum's not
interesting,
the most reputable.
Like, usually when we go into Arkham, seems like Scarecrow oftentimes plays a pretty big role, and in this, he's just like there for a couple creepy panels, and then he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little surprising because, like, the Scarecrow typical, like, MO and just the themes that the Scarecrow deals with seems like something that you would really want to tap into on this kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
Because it almost feels like Batman's been dosed as soon as he went in there, And everything's just heightened, is what it feels like.
Yeah. Well, maybe he was.
That is what it seems like. That seems like how it would be. But this type of story it is, or maybe it's just the way it's presented in the artwork. It's just like, they're like, that would be an easy way to explain this. Nope. It's just
right.
It's just horrible. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's just Elliott Smith lyrics.
Yeah, for me, like the plot was okay. Really, it's just the experience of it.
Yeah.
It's just the dark, brooding stuff. The backstory with Arkham is super dark and kind of interesting. Yeah, I liked it. It's definitely not one of my favorite. It makes a lot of like the top Batman story lists, and I think because there's a lot of dark Batman stories, but it does feel like it pushes what a Batman story can be a little further out.
One of the reasons I think that Batman is such a great character is that he can get broken himself and still come out okay. And if it's psychologically broken, then it's even, more fulfilling, I guess, for him to come out at the end. And this is definitely that kind of situation.
For me, that's part of what makes Batman so interesting, because the very nature of like what Batman is due to being a psychologically broken rich guy,
right?
Who wants to like, I mean, it's justice, but it's also kind of like revenge, against everybody, for what happened to his parents. So, like, I like stories that explore the broken Bruce Wayne idea.
And of course, they do that in this too, in kind of a weird, like, twisted, that's not really how it happened way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of The Cult, which they drug Batman, and I think at one point Batman actually shoots people with a machine gun while he's under the influence or something. But where Batman is broken down, but of course he pulls himself together eventually.
I like that one a lot.
And Grant Morrison explores that a lot later in his like actual Batman main series run, where at one point he pulled in the Batman of Zen-Ur-Ah or whatever it is, where he's running around. Basically, Batman, like, I don't remember what happens, but he gets totally broken down, and he ends up running around in this like patchwork multicolored bat suit. But Grant Morrison plays on the, Batman becoming mentally broken and then pulling himself back together several times in different stories. So it's obviously a theme that Morrison likes to play with too.
Well, good, because I like it. Good job.
Morrison and Batman, that's one area of comics I do know fairly well. Which is actually surprising that it's taken me so long to read this.
Maybe you were just waiting.
Yeah, I was waiting for now. I knew we'd have a podcast and listeners would want us to talk about it.
Well, really, I mean, you've read comics before, but since you like really got into comics again, we've been doing the podcast for a lot of it.
Well, it's tough with these that are just kind of one-offs. It's like Old Man Logan, like how much of it actually impacts what's happening in the current continuity.
Well, no, that's a good point too, because at one point I'd made points. You make a valid argument, because at one moment in time, I made a point to go back and read all the Grant Morrison Batman stuff, like the series stuff, because it plays so heavy into, like, even now still, you've got Damian Wayne running around. So I'm glad I went back and read that, because the Batman and Robin stuff even carried over into the New 52 after it was rebooted.
Right.
And the Batman Incorporated. So, like, there was extra incentive for me to read that because it tied into modern stuff I was going to be reading anyway. And the one-offs are like, I hear this is good, I want to read it, but like, you don't have that extra incentive because there's nothing pressing.
Right.
Unless it's like Dark Knight Returns, where it's like, okay, that it's not just one, it's not like just this little one shot. It's a thick graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the future.
Yeah.
That reminds me of something else.
They don't have hoverboards either.
I just sidetracked myself twice in my head and forgot what I was going to say in the first place. Batman Dark Knight. I was going to say something about what I liked about this. Or something about this. Oh, well, it's gone.
It was dark. Like the night.
We said that so many times. We said it's dark.
I like that. We keep tying it back to the crow and cat dancing. It's bat dancing.
Oh, bat dancing. That makes me think of Prince music.
Mm-hmm. You go way back and do the Batusi.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Bat dancing. It's going to be really... That's the episode title unless we come up with something.
It would be pretty hard to top that now.
I mean, this is a good... It's a good
we keep
companion.
referencing cat dancing, so... emo bat dancing.
Emo bat dancing. I've never read The Dark Knight Strikes Back.
Oh, no, me either. I heard it was bad. I think I flipped through it, and I was like, I don't know.
Some of the artwork is so crazy, rough looking.
It's a bad title.
Well, it's the sequel to Dark Knight Returns, and very soon they will be coming out with the third one.
They're talking about doing another one.
I'm hopeful for the... I'm kind of... I mean, it seems unnecessary, but I'm hopeful because, and this sounds kind of jerkish, it's not just Frank Miller.
Oh, right.
It's not just Frank Miller left to his own devices, which from what the criticisms of Dark Knight Strikes Back sounds like he just kind of went off the rails.
Right.
But
they're also talking about like bringing back All-Star Batman and Robin, and that was a similar situation of off the railsness.
Yeah, I have not read that. I mean, I know the famous line from it.
Oh yeah,
which gets referenced in the modern series. I can't remember which issue, but recently there was a good line. I can't say it. I have to Grawlix it.
Oh, I don't even know what it is.
Most listeners will know what I'm talking about.
He's the GD Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Batman.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
That comes from that, but I've never read it. I've never read All-Star Batman and Robin.
It kind of gets panned. So
yeah,
because it's a similar situation. Whereas, like, I don't know,
it's
not getting good reviews, and I don't think I need to read this.
It's not beloved.
Yeah.
Well,
you should do something with this cat because he's starting to back up on the mic.
There you go.
Are you a spider buggy?
He's
trying to spider buggy all over the microphone. He's fine up here until he starts getting on the mic.
Well, he's just trying to shift so he could.
He wanted to be on you.
I know.
Yeah. We all know.
Okay.
Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth or something.
Seriously.
I guess. Would you recommend this to people? And if so, like, I mean, is there? I would recommend it to certain readers.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
be the right person, and I probably wouldn't tell them to do it digitally. not only because I had technical difficulties, but because I think this is a book that probably is meant to be seen in print. You know, it has a lot of textures. It's very visual, and I think it was meant to be printed.
Yeah.
This was released in '89, so I think last year they released a, like, what would that make it? 35-year anniversary?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no. It can't be that. 25-year? 25th anniversary?
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's not older than us.
Yeah, it's not older than us. So, okay. So yeah, 25th anniversary, like, hardcover edition. I bet that looks very nice.
I bet it does.
So, yeah.
But I concur with everything that Jesse said. That's pretty much exactly how I feel about it. It was a good story, in general. I mean, it's not my favorite or anything like that, but it was okay. And I would recommend it to some people, but definitely not everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't even for, like, all Batman fans.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, if you like a dark Batman, or if you just like a dark story, check it out. But
or not always that way, because I have friends that like dark stories, but if they read it, then I fear for them. They should just stay away from it.
yeah.
Well, even like The Crow, like it's kind of like that kind of thing where it's like you could like the Crow movie and not necessarily like the Crow graphic novel.
Yeah,
I don't think, because there's a lot of bits that are just not gonna appeal to the same audience that liked the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or not everybody that liked the movie, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the Crow in the comic or in the graphic novel is not so much a hero as he is in the movie.
Yeah.
There's definitely in both of these stories, there's a darkness to our hero that's not present in how most people see, like in the representation of these characters that most people see.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm behind on modern Batman. I think I'm a couple issues behind.
I don't know where I'm at. You know where I'm at.
Commissioner Batman.
Yeah.
Has been a weird.
Rab Batman.
The Rab Batman has been a weird turn.
Yeah.
It's the first time I think it's the first time that I've like really fallen behind on the Scott Snyder Batman stuff. I also heard recently, and this bums me out, that Capullo is taking a hiatus from the series to work on something else. That. Which is a bummer, because that guy said with his own words that he will continue to work on Batman as long as DC lets him.
Yeah, but he didn't say like.
Be careful what you say.
Yeah,
we will hold it against you.
Comic book readers are the kind of people.
It was like, wait a minute, you said the thing
in your own words.
And I've really like with your own mouth or fingers. I don't know if he said it or typed it. He might. I think I don't know. He tweets a lot. Greg Capullo is a good person to follow on Twitter. If you don't, he tweets a lot, and he tweets a lot of pictures.
I don't tweet.
I know.
Was he one of the people that was like?
He was very vocal
about the Twix ads.
Yeah.
He
was very vocal.
That's a federal crime, Nick Lachey.
It's federal crime.
Federal crime. Can't mail that media mail anymore because of you.
Before we move on to our dead air segment, Jesse, and hopefully by the time this goes up, that mine will be up too. Jesse was featured on, had an interview featured on a website.
Oh, yeah, that happened yesterday.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that? For a brief moment?
Yeah, what was it? It's Andrew Jacobs, and his website is podcasts.are-the-best.wordpress.
I think it's
Blogspot.
Yep.
You're right. Blogspot.com.
Mm-hmm.
And he does like interviews via email with different podcasters, and asked a lot of awesome questions, and I answered them. And you can find that there. And if you look at our Twitter feed, you'll find it, and we'll probably link to it in the show notes.
Yep.
And it was a good interview.
Yeah.
And yours will be coming up soon then too, or
I haven't sent it off yet. I've been working on it, and on certain things I get stuck and I don't know what to say, and on other things I say entirely too much. So I don't want to.
I did that too. You look at mine. I did too. I went and was like, "What's your favorite comic book?" So I'm like, "Well, let me tell you."
Yours seemed perfectly in balance. It seemed all right. So that makes me more worried about mine.
No.
But yeah, mine should.
I think the hardest question was, when did you start listening to podcasts? Because I was like, that's weird. I don't know what my first podcast was. I don't have like a definite connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just started all of a sudden listening to podcasts. It's real weird.
That's one of the questions that I worry about. I'm worried about going on too long about. There's a chain of like events that led to podcasts. So I'm like, how much detail should I go into?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I read your interview yesterday after it was posted, and it's awesome. It's good. I
like that, and I actually had to do a little bit of my own research because I could not remember Wasted Words. I was like, that was one that I listened to pretty regularly. And I know it doesn't exist anymore, but like I couldn't remember the name of it for the life of me. And I was like, drunk chat, drinking words. And that's what finally got me to Wasted Words. And it was just like these guys would just have their drink of the week and chat about a topic.
I'm sorry, that's fantastic, because I was talking to someone earlier today and I said I have to leave. I have to go to a podcast. And they were like, what's a podcast? And I was saying, and they were like, what's your podcast about? And I said it, and they were like, I think that would be fun. And they're like, I want to do a podcast about drinking. And I'm like, yeah, you'd probably get a lot of listeners, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's been quite a few that are like, drunken history and so on and so forth. But that Black Tapes that you had suggested, that's that finally I'm just like, okay, this has got to be a running gag, because absolutely everybody that they quote unquote call or interview for the show, none of them know what a podcast is, and they always go through, well, it's basically the radio.
Yeah, and they even play it like, at first they kind of try to explain it a little more, and then eventually the more people that like ask, well, what's a podcast? Eventually they're just like, it's radio on the internet. That's
what I always say.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm surprised how many people don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people still don't. Dead Air. So we're going to talk about some Walking Dead now.
What volume are we on now? Is this 4?
4.
4.
So before we get to what volume 4 is about, I have a question. How far are we going with Walking Dead?
That's a good question.
Because, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I could keep going. I find it's a more enjoyable and easier read once I'm further away from the beginning, which I've read a couple times.
I'd like to at least finish up Compendium 1, which is what I'm actually reading.
How many
this on?
So what?
I think it's like 6 to 8 volumes. So that would be similar to the Swamp Studies that we did.
Yeah, because Swamp Thing we did 6 installments, I think. 6.
Yeah,
covered the 6 Alan Moore trades. So I didn't know if we were going to do 6 again and then do something else, or if we were going to keep going.
I'm cool with whatever.
Do you have
but I would like to maybe finish the compendium.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what is going on in the 6? Because we have to at least get out of the prison and all that.
I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on at all in the future. I've intentionally not looked forward.
Introducing the first 8 volumes. So,
okay. Well, I'm down for going through the first compendium at least. I would be happy with going further. It just depends on what you guys want to do, or
I'm potentially cool with going on too. I just don't want to.
I could put it out.
Like if there's another thing that we should be reading, then that's cool too. But I don't know what we would follow up with either at this point.
That's
like,
true.
I'm not that far.
Yeah.
It was just something I was thinking about the other day. I mean, we're only on volume 4, so it's not even anything we have to worry about at the moment. But
this would be the halfway point if we were going to stop at Compendium 1. So this is halftime. It's time to start thinking.
No, you can't stop here.
A thought. If any listeners want to chime in, Brandon, we'd like to know what you think.
Our one listener there.
Our listener. The Walking Dead, Volume 4, The Heart's Desire. Covers Volume 4 collects issues 19 through 24. Written and lettered by Robert Kirkman. Pencils and inks by Charlie Adlard. Color by Cliff Rathburn. And the covers by Tony Moore.
So last time we left off with what's his name basically telling them to get out of the prison.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's where we begin.
And that's where we begin. Yeah, it does. It picks up right at the end. I read this periodically throughout the month. I literally finished like the last couple pages today, but I started it a couple weeks ago. So the earlier stuff I'm a little sketchy on. So yeah, we start in kind of the middle of this confrontation. A couple of the inmates that were at the prison when they arrived in the I think maybe it wasn't the last volume, but they arrived at the prison. A couple of the inmates are unhappy with these crazy people that showed up and basically started murdering each other.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
basically, this volume and the last volume, the theme is everyone's crazy.
Yeah.
This was a very dramatic volume.
Yeah.
So these inmates had knew of a cache of weapons, and they were gonna boot our group out. About that time, we get zombie horde from one of the blocks that the inmates had opened to get to the guns. Zombie horde busts out, so then there's a big firefight. And during this firefight, Rick might have used the chaos to his advantage and taken the key guy, the key inmate that was causing trouble, taking him out.
Yeah.
Well, and the volume opens with Otis coming back. Is it Otis, I think?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Otis is coming back, and we get introduced to Michonne.
Yeah. That issue was very pricey for a long time when Michonne first appeared in this series, the TV series.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't know how far you guys want to go with the plot versus how do you guys want to handle this? Do we just want to talk about our thoughts on various things? Do we want to go through the plot? Because we've kind of done both before.
All right.
I don't know how interesting it is just to go point for point through the plot, but
well, there isn't like one big thing that happens in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So much as like a bunch of little, well, I mean, they're big, but they're not like, they're not like we're getting kicked out of the prison kind of.
Yeah.
After this initial confrontation, not a lot really happens. It kind of becomes a lot of drama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Infighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of infighting.
But you still got to talk about it a little bit.
So there's
and the opposite of infighting.
So there's a big confrontation.
There's a big confrontation. Then
there's a lot of drama.
And then yeah, but there's a big confrontation.
I think we just summed up the show.
The guy gets shot.
Zombies in there.
Yeah. There's a big confrontation. The guys get shot. Then they all meet Michonne. She goes in. She's awesome. They invite her in. Then she sleeps with Tyrese. And then that starts holding up some of the drama.
Well,
and then Carol goes nuts because of that. And then that starts some drama with him and Rick. And then...
So let's break that down. First, Michonne shows up like she does in the TV show. Of course, this is before the TV show. But she got the two zombies in tow, sword, and all that. I believe she ends up helping out Otis, who was stuck outside the gates. He had got back. I think the group had pretty much assumed that Otis was dead because he was like pinned down somewhere for a while or something. He was gone for a while.
He just didn't come back with the rest of them when they came.
Yeah, he helps him out. She helps him out because while they're outside the gate. Is when all the firefight and the chaos is going on inside. Michonne is very different in this. Yeah. And at first they make her give over the sword, and they're like, you can come in, but like they're not trusting of her. Put her in a cell and you stay here and blah 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 blah. She doesn't sleep with Tyrese exactly. She has some kind of relations with that man.
Enough.
And who is it? Is it Carol?
I believe so.
Carol sees it.
Yes.
And that's a big source of drama here. That's actually like in the later half of this volume is like the major source of the drama is that.
Mm-hmm.
But Michonne's a totally different character. She's the same type of character, but she's very different. Her personality seems very different in this versus the show.
Yeah, she's a lot more
confrontational and... Wait, was that what you were going to say? Probably not.
In the show?
No, I meant in this.
Okay.
In the show, she seems more stoic.
Yeah, she's like guarded and won't let anyone in and doesn't want to interact with people in the show. And yeah, she's not nearly as much so in the comic.
During the big firefight, Tyrese, I think, was the only person that saw Rick shoot the one guy.
Yeah.
So Tyrese
calls him on it like right away. He's
like,
it kind of screws up our whole you kill, you die rule.
But at that point, they still kind of had he's like, well, I knew you killed this guy. You know I killed that guy, so we'll just pretend like neither of us knows this. I'm surprised nobody else was more like, I mean, even though if they didn't see it, so he accidentally got shot. how
nobody else was suspicious?
Yeah, how convenient during this zombie fight where we kill zombies all the time and nobody gets shot, you know?
Carol witnesses this moment with Tyrese and Michonne, tells Tyrese, you know, in the morning you're getting out of here. You're gonna move into another cell.
Mm-hmm.
They break up, and then she cuts her wrists
In front of her child.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that poor kid. Horrible time. And then Rick finds out what's going on. Then we have like a big fight, like an issue long, like shouting and fight and punching match between
and falling off the second floor railings, and
Rick and Tyrese beat the crap out of each other. There's a lot of yelling. It is I in doing my research and to make sure I had the right, you know, the penciler and letterer and well, it was the two guys, but you know,
yeah.
I come across a couple, not reviews, but you know, thoughts, and somebody had said this was the soap opera volume. It does have that, like, it's just super dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
It's the two guys basically start yelling, and then it's just everything's out in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Rick's like, "You killed that boy, blah blah blah," and you then you let him come back, and you killed him again, and you enjoyed it, and blah blah blah. And he's like, "You shot that one guy," and like they're just shouting, and just everything's out in the open at that point.
Oh, we missed a little something.
Okay.
Yeah, was that the whole thing with Alan? Yeah.
Oh, that was a big thing.
Yeah. Because that was one of the things that he yelled out about during that fight. That's why I thought about it. Yeah.
So, you knew Alan was in trouble. He
was finally coming to terms. Never do that.
No.
Always be guarded. Always be emo. Always be cat dancing.
Yep.
Exactly. In The Walking Dead, you can't be happy. Don't have a character arc. If you have a character arc, don't let it put you in a good place.
Nope.
Well, unless you're T-Dog, in which case a character arc might have saved him for a while.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But then he became happy. Yeah, he was happy and no character arc, just as bad.
Yeah, yeah. In the writing, Kirkman intentionally like foreshadows that stuff in the way that a movie does. They're like, something's going to happen, and this character's like, "Oh, I want to help. Let me go along." And you're like, "Oh, no." I know.
Don't go in there.
I know that's intentional, and it does go bad for him.
Mm-hmm.
He goes along to help clear out the section that those inmates had opened up, and of course he gets bitten in the leg. And again, this is where, not to always compare it to the show, but this is where the show will pick ideas from here, but then intentionally go the opposite direction, and it makes me appreciate the changes that they make in the show versus the comic, because Rick's like, it's not the bite that turns him. The bite just kills you. We all turn anyway. Which I know they had decided that you turn anyway, but I think it was an interesting distinction here that they're like, the bite doesn't turn you. It just kills you. Rick decides to take the leg off, which nobody was behind.
Yeah.
Nobody was behind him on that.
Yeah.
Which I'm a little surprised, although maybe I'm just thinking in movie logic. In real life, maybe if somebody's like, "We got to cut his leg off," you know, nobody's gonna be like, "Okay." And he takes his leg off, and spoilers, he doesn't survive.
Yeah.
Right.
He dies off page. You don't see it.
Yeah. They just report it. They don't even
Which
go
is
into it.
A little disappointing, I guess, because that happens during this big fight between Rick and Tyrese. But I think it's interesting then in the show that they basically use that same, well, it's a little different, but that scenario on Herschel, and Herschel survives.
Yeah, to save him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I like that. That's a situation like with The Walking Dead. It's a case where now that I'm reading more into the comic to see where they're pulling from and changing, I appreciate the changes, because it's like I can see where they're like, let's take this idea but intentionally go the other way to, I don't know if it's to mess with people who are in the know or just explore different ideas of a possible scenario, you know?
One of my favorite parts is when they're fighting. I was thinking of it because, they were, letting each other's secrets out. But, he was like, and you enjoyed cutting that guy's leg off. And I'm like, where does he get that from?
Well, he goes for low blows. They're going for low blows at that point. And he definitely goes for low blows because he's got to know that Rick didn't enjoy cutting his leg off. But he does. He's saying some horrible things.
But when they fall, like he falls down the thing, and then
he falls over the rail off the second like little, I don't know what you call it, floor of the prison.
And then Tyrese goes down there, and they're still fighting. And then at one point they're both laying on the floor, and he's like, "Don't leave, I'm not done with you yet." And they're both like just laid out.
Oh yeah, they're not done, even though they're like can't even move. They're just physically exhausted.
Yeah, I like it.
It's a pretty epic like battle. They beat the crap out of each other. Mm-hmm. Rick definitely takes the worst end of it, which kind of makes sense because Rick's scrappy.
Yeah, and
the other guy was a football player. Rick is a mess, and he even says that he was later towards the end that he was being naive, but the whole "you kill, you die" thing, he's not following that himself. Mm-hmm. But I think everybody's really giving him a hard time. It doesn't totally seem justified to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that somewhat comes in later when I don't know if anything happens between this and when he passes out. But he passes out, but I think he broke his hip or something. Something happened. And then when he wakes up, they had decided that he wasn't the leader anymore, and everything was going to be done by committee, which was also ended up being sexist in some way. And I was like, I don't understand why the women only feel like they need to be protected. Maybe you just have sucky women on your group. But anyway.
No, they comment on it sometime. On it, like Rick comments on it several times.
I know. But still, the guy's like, they just want to be protected. No, I don't appreciate that. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, but he made it clear that, I mean, maybe it's sexist in the writing, okay. But he made it clear it was the women all decided they didn't want to be the leaders, want to be in the committee. Mm-hmm. So if you follow the logic that it's not the writer's fault, it's the characters, then it's the characters doing it. But, I mean, that kind of thing isn't completely new to Walking Dead. If you think back to I'm pretty sure it's the first volume where the men go off to do stuff and the women are like cleaning clothes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they even have kind of a discussion about it at that point, but they're like, they acknowledge it, but then don't like buck that idea and continue on. Like, I'm not sure what that's about, but not knowing so much about this character of this version of Michonne yet, but knowing like she's a strong character in the TV show and she's obviously a strong character, it would make sense though that she wouldn't be interested because she's new to the group and like really she came in and kind of started a whole bunch of trouble. And at first she seemed like a like she's gonna just come in and get involved in this and like not really care, but obviously there's consequences, and she definitely seems remorseful about it.
Yeah. As soon as they said anything about Carol, like she was more concerned than Tyrese was.
Mm-hmm. When Carol has this whole thing of kissing people, like Rick's unconscious. Okay, he just wakes up, boom, kiss.
Yeah.
Lori, we're really connecting. Kiss.
Yeah.
Tyrese. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot she kissed Lori.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She kissed them all.
I mean, you kind of saw some of it before, but this is where you definitely are like, yeah, this Carol is not the same Carol as the show at all.
Right.
Jesse had sent me a message at some point in the month commenting on both Michonne and Carol, how they're very different.
Because they're so wildly different.
Mm-hmm.
Like Michonne has a very different personality. Carol really is like a completely different character. Like, very like no resemblance to the character on the TV show, which again is one of those changes where I like Carol on the TV show quite a bit. They've made her ruthless and tough guy.
Yeah. I don't know who would win in a fight between her and Rick.
Really, like she's.
I might put my money on Carol. She took out an entire town of Terminate crazies.
Yeah. And that's not a walker. Those are like living people that could fight back if she wasn't as awesome as she is.
Oh, and when she goes super awesome, they happen to always throw her in like this kind of hood and like handkerchief thing. Awesome. Which is just a super cool character because she's an older lady, and I like Oh, okay. I was about to. Never mind. We're talking about the comic book. I was about to get in the TV show. The comic book Carol.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's
damaged. That's for sure.
She's
Yeah.
damaged,
And
and
she's
I think,
taking it out in weird ways.
and I think the kissing thing is like. She definitely seems to want to like latch onto somebody
Mhm.
for one, if nothing else, for like, emotional stability.
Mhm. She's like, I don't recall at this point whether she was supposed to be abused in the book or not, but, and I'm not trying to put down abused women, because, I never would, but it reminds me of like women that are abused, and then even if they manage to leave, they end up with someone who is
Finding
abusive
themselves
again
in the same situation
because
over and over.
they can't be alone, and that's it. So they'll take that because they need to be with someone, or they feel like they need to, I should say. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what drives them to it. And I don't understand it, but it happens in life, and I think that's supposed to be what she's doing, kind of.
Right.
To like further clarify what Melanie's saying, yeah, you're not saying that's if you're an abused woman, that's how you are. But there are a lot of, people, but there are a lot of women that have, it's kind of like a codependency type thing, that find themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
And this version,
Almost
Carol,
Stockholm.
yeah,
Almost.
and Carol just seems very much to like want to just throw herself into
Mm-hmm.
some type of situation with somebody. She's got to have somebody there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't remember what character comments on it, but she didn't even react like that. Like, she broke up with Tyrese and tried to cut her own wrists and just react and had a stronger reaction than when people died, or dying and stuff.
Well, yeah, but if he dies, that's just him dying. If they break up, it's because he rejected her.
Oh, yeah.
And that's worse in the world of someone who can't be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's not only I'm not with someone, it's I'm not with someone because no one wants me.
Mm-hmm. And that's good writing on Robert Kirkman's behalf.
I agree.
Good character writing.
There's lots of things that happen with every different character. I mean, like they spotlight on Glenn and Maggie a little bit, and they even have this like awkward thing with Herschel where he's like, I know what's going on, and they're like not even fully clothed when all this is going down, and but then after Rick comes out of it, it kind of is the end of the volume.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just fill him in on what they've all decided, and then he's like, all right, I can accept that, but listen, you're gonna listen to me now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say my piece.
Yeah.
Say that iconic line.
Yeah, it's a great monologue, and the end,
it leads to it's really good. It was good.
Mm-hmm. And that was almost that whole issue was that too.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, the last
We are the Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really good.
There's a lot of sexy stuff going on in this
Yeah.
chunk.
It's called The Heart's Desire.
A lot of sex and death. That's what's happening.
Yeah. The last half or better of this volume is all character conflict and arguing and beating the crap out of each other and all that. But it was good.
Yeah, it was alright. It's not one of my favorite chunks, but it's alright.
No, yeah, I would agree with that. But even though I read it I read it off and on over the last couple of weeks, it was an easy read. I just didn't take a lot of time to read it. It wasn't anything I got stuck on. So it's a quick read if you really want to sit down and blow through it, I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
I actually did not read it. I flipped through it and then just remembered it.
Okay, yeah.
Like I stopped to look enough to be like, oh, okay, this is when this happened and this happened and this happened. But
I'm sure people know by now. But to clarify, you've read it all before.
Yeah,
you're like current.
I'm current. Yeah.
So you didn't reread. You didn't reread it this time.
I have read it, but
okay.
I did not read it.
Yeah.
Recently. I just flipped through it to refresh my memory.
Mm-hmm. No, I just wanted to make sure. People should know.
Yeah.
But if there's a new listener, they might not realize that you've read it already. So
I intended to. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
It's all right. You've read more comics this month than I have.
Yeah, I usually do, though.
Not during the summer.
I don't know.
I haven't read a lot of I haven't read hardly anything this month. I think this reading was about all I've done. Was for the show today. So.
Yeah. I read less in the summer, but I still go through quite a bit.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I started us on that path. So yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. I'm sure there'll be something that I'll remember later, but I mean, yeah, beyond the big initial action stuff, it's a lot of character stuff, but
and I think that's where we're really starting to see how they're so different, like the show and the and the books. Even though we're obviously following the prison storyline, a lot of this never happened in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's like looking at the stuff just before the prison, they stretched an entire season 2, out of what was like 3 issues of the comic book. Meanwhile, you get to the prison stuff, and there's so much more going on between the characters that they didn't touch on in the show. Or if they did, they like just took little pieces and compressed it into like 15 minutes of a show, you know?
Yeah.
Because we've already had 2 volumes of the prison.
Yeah.
And in the show, they were only there for like a season and a half.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say a lot of that, they even left this, like story wise, they left the main characters and was following the governor for a while. And there was all that town stuff mixed in. So speaking of Walking Dead, have you been watching the new season at all, Jesse? Well, I think the new episode's probably
I probably start here in
about 15.
Soon.
Yeah. So I think at this point only 2, maybe 3 episodes have run.
Is it only 2?
Yeah, I think so.
That might be right.
Yeah. I'm enjoying the new season.
There's a lot in those 2 episodes.
Oh yeah, because you got the first episode, and then the second episode doesn't like touch on. I mean, it's stuff that happened elsewhere during the first episode, so you don't even like get a resolution for how the first episode ends. But I'm enjoying it, man. The show's good. The comic book's good.
Can I make one real quick comment also about character differences?
Yes.
That I might have mentioned before that it was weird to me that they chose to do it this way, or I don't know if they chose it this way, but how it ended up. I don't understand what they're going to do when they get to stuff later, because right now in the books, Carl is starting to get into the age that the Carl on the TV show is already at. So, like, you know, when they get there, he will have already surpassed all of this stuff long ago.
I mean, I think they, and even this far into the comics, you're starting to see it. They can take ideas and situations and modify it for where they're at in the show and with those characters, or apply it to different characters. When
they kind of had to, because that kid is growing up fast.
Yeah,
so.
But he was too old when they started. I thought
he did seem a bit older than this. Yeah, the comic book Carl's pretty young.
He's way young. That's why I never understood.
It's like a first grader or something. I mean,
yeah, I didn't understand why they started with a kid that was already older when they knew that he's going to age faster than.
Probably easier to film, like filming and some of the stuff they have to film is probably easier than trying to have a 6-year-old or something.
Well, then they just need to be smart and find like a Jodie Foster and Elijah Wood that can play stuff when they're 3 and win awards. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
I'm sorry.
Just make contact already.
Yeah.
I
got it. It's good. I actually like that movie.
I didn't like Contact.
You either like it or don't, I think.
It was dull and disappointing.
You're dull and disappointing. No, you're not. I'm sorry. That was not true at all.
I didn't take it personal.
but because I'm like
True.
that. I'm that kind of person.
It's true.
I'll be like, your face smells. I don't know, just whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to justify it. It's fine. I'm dull and I disappoint.
No, baby.
I'm just gonna. No, it's fine. I'm dragging the joke on. Venture Brothers even commented on how stupid Contact was.
Well,
No.
I don't agree with everything that Venture Brothers says.
New season of Venture Brothers trailer.
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
So exciting.
Oh man, are we still talking about Walking Dead? What are we talking about?
We're talking
right
about Venture Brothers.
I think we pretty much covered it. So
Yeah.
now? Yeah. The Rick. I do want to talk about the Rick differences.
Well, I want to compare Rick and Morty and
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future and bring up that one point that they made on that thing that is not important. That for it all to have worked, then it's going to be more like Rick and Morty than it is like Back to the Future. And Doc Brown has a bunch of dead Martys stashed somewhere.
In order for the timelines to work out the way it would.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about
was it Back to the Future 2 doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the fact that old Biff goes back in time and changes the past, he couldn't make it back. He couldn't come back home unless the time machine itself is some kind of temporal anchor. But it's gone. Like it leaves. The future should have just changed.
Yep. Unless,
Well, that was kind of the argument with she was referencing this like cracked YouTube channel, the cracked video. In which they were discussing how it would work. And I think even the first one falls apart a bit because or no, maybe it is the second one.
No, it's even the first one.
Because if Marty goes back and changes things, even between his parents, like somehow his parents would still have to have sex at the same time. The right sperm and egg need to meet, and they have to somehow give birth to the same Marty, even though these things are different. And so, statistically, that's wildly impossible that Marty would come out the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got that time loop paradox where it's like, well, then Marty would be different, and then would he have ever gone back?
Mm-hmm.
So their theory broke down to then Doc Brown would have had to like gone through all these
find
different,
the right Morty.
yeah, gone through all these different timelines and probably just be often Marty's till he got the right one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To make everything work, basically to save him from the terrorists at the end of at the beginning / end of the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Or something. It's time travel. It's always a problematic.
Yeah.
I like that version better.
Yeah.
It's like what's that movie where the guy meets Tesla and makes copies of himself to do magic tricks?
Oh,
is
The
that
Prestige.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, The Illusionist was about the same time, but that was the
Right.
Edward
I always
Norton
get
Jr.
stuck
one.
between the two of them.
Yeah, well, The Prestige was the better of the two.
I
Even though I
agree.
like Edward Norton, The Prestige was the better of the two, in my opinion. And that was awesome at the end. I'm like, yeah,
Where he's got all the hymns.
yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Well, and David Bowie played Tesla.
Yeah,
Like know the
Yeah.
movie's a winner.
yeah, that's true.
That's a good movie. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. I don't know where.
And this,
that all spun out of wanting to talk about Rick.
that's right.
Oh.
That's yeah.
Okay. Here's
Talk about Rick, baby. You do
before
it.
all this crap happened. Okay. Here's what I wanted. Here's where I was leading to with my point about the differences in Rick. It's interesting that Rick is a mess, but it's interesting that season 3 of the TV show, we get them going into the prison. Before they go into the prison, actually, it might be the end of season 2. There's the big speech, which is basically Rick's dictator speech.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a democracy. I'm the leader. Blah blah blah. And really, I mean, he loses his crap, and they question him as a person. But they don't really, I don't remember them questioning him as the leader that much. And in the comic book, and I think that's an interesting turn on the comic book where he's the leader going in, and then they do this whole committee thing. And it's like, we're doing committee. This is more of a democracy type thing. So I just like the idea of one medium exploring one side of the scenario, and then the other medium kind of exploring the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You look confused.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I read the book, but I thought they did have the committee for a minute in the show.
I don't know. Maybe I don't recall it. Rick ends up just being the leader all the time anyway. I've liked Rick, and I like ruthless Rick. Even in last season, where he really because he kind of had to, but he really gets kind of animalistic and ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
This season, I find, and towards the end of last season, but this season, I find he's really kind of going into almost unlikable, which is weird because Rick's great.
Yeah,
but I think that's interesting.
Well, when you've had to, bite into a man's neck to murder him so that your son doesn't get raped, it kind of affects you negatively.
Yeah.
It does change a person.
And the show handles that well. I mean, the comics are doing the same thing. They both handle these character changes well because they are put into situations where you're like, yeah, most normal people would come out not normal anymore after these. They would come out rough.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be wearing bat costumes. They'd be dancing with cats. They'd be doing all sorts of bizarre stuff.
Exactly. In fact, in the TV show, it's amazing that Carl is as balanced as he is currently, because they've hinted at him kind of going in a bad direction, but they've kind of steered him back towards he's a pretty good kid.
Mm.
Yeah, his whole emo "I'm gonna eat a lot of pudding" phase, but
and there was that, at one point he shot that guy who probably didn't need to be shot. I think that was
Shane. Oh wait,
no,
okay.
Not Shane.
Oh, not that one. Okay,
not that one. No, it was I want to say towards the beginning of the prison stuff in the TV show. There was some kid, and he ended up the kid there was some guy. He was a threat, but Carl didn't have to shoot him, and he did.
Out in the woods, outside of the prison. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
They kind of hinted that Carl might be going down a bad path, and they kind of followed that through till the pudding thing. But that's when they kind of started no, he's all right. He ate his pudding. He got it out of his system. And he had his whole dramatic bit with Rick, and Rick almost dying, and yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to try and remember what's happened, and at what point. Yeah, things do happen, so I don't spoil things because I don't want to.
Yeah.
Do you feel like an ice cream, Carl? Because you don't look like an ice cream. Those memes.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're dying to get in here, Carl. Carl.
I didn't even see those until they towards the end of when those memes were relevant, but I loved them.
Oh yeah,
it was pretty good. The picture they took pictures from it was I think when Rick found out in the TV show, obviously when Rick found out that Lori was dead, and he was intently upset looking at Carl, and then he'd slowly move closer till he's bent down and looking at Carl. So they usually the two images was of him looking further away, and then him bent down real close looking at him, and then they'd put funny say things, and it worked because it was pretty funny.
Dad jokes, they're so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that.
Yeah. Sometime I might go back and rewatch some Walking Dead. I don't know. I wonder how first season's a little rough. I know I'm sure I've seen that probably twice. The second season it really does drag on for half the season. Mm-hmm. But from that point,
also resets the vibe of the show, though. It's Yeah, it drags, but it also feels necessary somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious. I don't know. Maybe I'd start there. It's not anything I'm going to do anytime soon. I don't want to start rewatching old episodes while the current season's going, but I would like to go back and revisit some of them. And I wonder how well it holds up. Because there's some good moments and good episodes. I'm very curious as to whether it'll be, like, because I know what's happening. Mm. I really like the trend of like super serialized TV. Walking Dead, a lot of the other shows we watch. Breaking Bad was a big, super successful one. But a lot of the stories are very like in the moment. Part of what makes it so good is you don't know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I wonder how a lot of these shows hold up if you know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Just a random thought, a random question.
I think there's enough different that it's okay. And then when things do happen, you're so excited because you're like, oh, I love that part. Uh-huh. Okay.
And Walking Dead does make an attempt to, like, we'll do interesting things with episodes stylistically and stuff sometimes and all that. And Breaking Bad's kind of that way too. So, okay. Is there anything else we should mention?
Oh geez, what's happening? This will be November.
Don't shave.
Don't shave.
There's going to be lots of horror weeks to look back forward to.
Yeah, look back forward to it.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean there's lots of stuff from October on the site that a lot of people probably haven't seen yet. That's totally worth it. Jesse tackles almost every Doctor Who related Big Finish audio play review. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of those up.
And there's got so many coming, like Torchwood, and then the news about the War Doctor came out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm getting that. I'm gonna be reviewing that for sure.
That's exciting. That's exciting for a lot of reasons. Mixed with the Torchwood a little bit, but the Torchwood is not as surprising. It's exciting that they're doing Torchwood audio plays, but they're going to do a War Doctor. How many stories?
It's a series of box sets, so it's kind of like doing the Eighth Doctor stuff, where it's like Doom Coalition, which I just reviewed on the site, is like a 4 or 5 disc thing. Same thing with the War Doctor, where they'll do 4 or 5 discs of content, and then there'll be another box set, and so there's like 4 box sets that will ultimately create this arc. So it's like a whole season.
That's awesome.
Of stories, but you get a clump of them at a time.
John Hurt War Doctor, which means that's a modern Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, there's going to be news as we're recording this. There's going to be big news tomorrow. And it looks like, I don't want to jinx it, but it does look like either the 9th or the 10th Doctor's TARDIS.
Really?
That they're putting up as
that
it's not the new TARDIS. But it's a newer TARDIS.
That's exciting because as I was hoping, I'm sure along with everybody else, when they started talking about allowing Big Finish to use some of the like new Who villains and stuff like that, and unit people, means they're starting to open up new Who characters and basically the new series universe to Big Finish so that they can work in it. Because the War Doctor is also going to be Time War stuff, and I'm really excited to see what Big Finish does in terms of Time War stuff, because the idea of a Time War, like there's so many cool things you could do that the 50th anniversary special just didn't really touch on at all.
Yes, come Big Finish and make sense of all the things that they've ruined.
And they do, though. I mean, like that's what Big Finish does. Is they can take their time, and so, like the Mel situation. Like they did a whole series, or not series, but a whole story that kind of was like, oh, here's why her story is all messed up, and we're going to deal with it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I'm hoping for.
That.
I'm hoping they can make something that isn't horrible out of River Song stuff.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. But I am morbidly curious about that one. I don't want to be, but I am.
No,
and I might get that one. I don't know. I'm still on the fence.
I'm not that
but
interested in it.
I'm gonna get the Doom Coalition one. So I mean, it's like I already know that they're gonna interact somehow by not interacting or whatever. But she's involved in now the 8th Doctor's story.
It doesn't totally make sense, but that's okay.
The problem is that I trust those writers. So it's like it's really hard for me to pass on something where I'm like, oh, these writers are really good.
I don't like River Song. I don't like what she's done, and the only reason that I'm interested,
she's a monster.
Yeah,
She's a monster.
And if they can make it not be so bad, then that's what I'm excited for, because I like Doctor Who and I don't want it to be bad, and that was bad.
It was not great. Yeah. Yeah. You know what's not bad though? Me. And the current season of Doctor Who, I'm enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it too.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah. I just watched yesterday's episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 2-parter with Maisie Williams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen them yet?
Yep.
I assume. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Which one did you like better? Did you like the beginning or the end better?
That's a good question. One thing they've been doing with the 2-parters that I really like, and maybe I mentioned this, no, I don't think I mentioned this last month because we'd only seen like 1 or 2. The first half and the second half feel completely different.
Yeah, they do.
Of every story.
Yeah. True.
And in a good way. Like it's very
not
good.
like Death in Heaven and Dark Water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that was a pretty dramatic shift in a but not so awesome way.
That almost felt like testing ground.
Yeah.
They're like, well, let's do this 2-parter, the big finale, and then afterwards they're like, what worked, what didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can play with this format.
Yeah.
I might like the second part of the girl who died, the woman who lived.
The woman who lived. Yeah.
Yeah, I might like the second part better.
I don't know. I think I might like the first part better.
I think I like the first part better just for the entertainment value. But I do think that they hit on bigger issues in the second one.
Yeah.
And I like how they're setting it up so that she'll probably make another appearance. And I've already been reading things that say, oh yeah, it's likely. It's almost a given.
Yeah, she should.
Nice.
I'm going to slightly change my opinion, but not really. I like the first one for the story, for it as a story. I like the second one for the Doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I might slightly change mine. I like the first one for the story and the heavy bits. I like the second one because I like the humor. The first one had a lot of humor, but I think I like the humor that was in the second one better. But
it was kind of nice to get a break from Clara too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I never was fond of her.
We know. I agree. She's problematic as a character. I don't mind her as an actress, but she's problematic as a character. But I agree, it was nice that she wasn't there. You almost got, even though she kind of was.
She showed up at the end, but
yeah.
But you almost got, a new companion. I mean, you
got a new Psycho Stalker.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, Maisie kind of plays a couple different roles, but basically you have a new counterpart for this episode with Maisie Williams, and it was fun to have a completely different dynamic between the Doctor and this other character.
Almost being on the same par too, but not, I mean, like they're very similar.
And her character, like, I guess, character arc, or at least the plot of her character goes in this episode, changes the dynamic between the two. So you gotta get to see him interact in friendly and less friendly manners. So yeah, it's cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I like that Jack Harkness pops up in the conversation too. Like that was the best possible way to kind of give him a nod.
And I love the Pompeii stuff in the first episode.
Oh yeah, that was chilling.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad.
Like, oh, nice.
I'm glad they touched on it. Because they definitely heavily hinted at it when the first 12th Doctor's episode, but cool. Melanie loves Sonic sunglasses.
Oh god.
She's not you're not a fan of that. It annoys me a little bit. I don't mind that he's got sunglasses and that they're a Sonic device, but that they're the Sonic device.
Yeah. I kind of like that they got snapped right away in the beginning of the first part. Like you get broken in half, and you're like, yeah, they break. Sunglasses break all the time. This is maybe not a great idea.
Yeah. A guitar doctor is still weird.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think I mean, I like it, but I think it'd be less weird if we had a little bit of the guitar doctor in the first season that he was in. You don't get any guitar doctor, and he's such a guitar guy now.
Well, he just picked it up.
Yeah, that's true. It makes sense, and I bet it's cool for Capaldi. He was a punk rock guy.
Yeah.
When his doctor finally gets to have a persona, and now we get to flesh it out.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, he was kind of very uncertain last season.
And it's not like, or maybe
he seems more comfortable. Maybe
I'm wrong, but it's not. I was gonna say you guys would know if I'm wrong. It's not like the second Doctor. It's not like the second Doctor was born with a recorder in his hand.
Oh yeah, yeah, he does. He pulls that thing out right away and he's playing with it.
Okay.
The recorder,
or the spoons.
The spoons with the seventh, and that's why I don't mind the guitar thing, because I like that a lot of them have their own quirk. They have their little thing. 7 had lots of quirks. He had the magic thing, which was very strange.
Yeah. Well, so did 4. I mean, 4 kind of invented the quirk, really.
Yeah.
And didn't he recently? I think it happened recently. Offer somebody a sugar baby, or am I wrong? Because I think I loved that.
The 12th Doctor. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He did that in. I
think it was last season.
Mummy on the Orient Express.
He had it in like a
cigarette case. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one knew that was coming either, I don't think. But they just played it up.
Good. Grawlixpodcast.com. If you're listening to this, you probably know that that's our website. But if not, check it out. You can get more episodes and reviews and all kinds of fun stuff. Follow us on Twitter at Grawlix Podcast. Facebook is facebook.com/Grawlix Podcast. We also have a Facebook group, and I'm dying to get more people in there because we post quite a bit of like cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
And that's facebook.com/groups/Grawlix Podcast. If we're on it, just throw a /Grawlix Podcast there and you'll find us.
And let us know about Dead Air. Should we keep going? Should we look at another series? What should we do?
Yeah, no, I think we should definitely plan on, unless people hate it, but I don't see why they would, finishing Compendium 1. And then, if you guys have an opinion either way, let us know what we should do after that. Should we continue Walking Dead? Because there's tons of Walking Dead that we can read through. Or if we should try something else. Because Dead Air is our second recurring segment. The first one was Swamp Studies, which we talked about Saga of the Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Also, send us some email if you want to ask us a question, or if you're inclined, you can like send us a voice recording and we'll play it on the show and send it to letters@grawlixpodcast.com.
Keep it clean so we don't have to Grawlix you.
Yep, make my job easier. And there's certain things that you can't Grawlix, so if it's real bad, I just won't play it, I guess.
And keep it short so we don't have to cut it down.
Yep. Keep it short, keep it clean.
Yep.
Check out the Electronic Media Collective podcast network at electronicmediacollective.com. And we're also, this is something I don't mention enough, we're also on the I've got Pimpitis. I don't know.
Pimpitis. Is there a salve, like a healing salve for that?
Yeah, you got to apply it to your throat.
Slap it on.
Yep. Slap a salve on it.
Slap a Grawlix salve on that.
The Comics Network. It's it's the Comic Book Podcast Network. comicsnetwork.com. We post our episodes there as well, and there are a ton of comic book podcasts on there. So if you're looking for more stuff to listen to in between the long waits between Grawlix Podcast, because I know everybody's hanging on each episode, I'm sure. Go there. And also the Nerd Podcast Coalition, which is a Facebook and Twitter group. There's posts to that on the site.
Things. We put the things out in the world.
Yep. We do the things.
Yep.
I mean, really, go to Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. That Twitter's where it's at. I'm a Twitterholic these days. This is Randy. Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I didn't take Lorraine out, that he'd melt my Grawlix.
This is Melanie. I don't want to mess with no Grawlix addicts.
And this is Jesse. If my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious Grawlix.
Thank you for listening to the Grawlix Podcast. The Grawlix Podcast is a production of Electronic Media Collective and Vorpal Arrow Studios. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. To hear more, visit GrawlixPodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook at Facebook.com/GrawlixPodcast and like us on Twitter, Twitter.com/GrawlixPodcast.
Well, I was going to leave some of that, but now I might have to cut all of it. It'll go up as a PSA. At the end, people are like, I'm not sure what I was supposed to have learned, but I feel uncomfortable now. Yeah.
Do eat your mic.
I don't know if I'm supposed to eat the mic or not.
Why do I have a mic?